Hi, welcome to today's recap. Today, we will give you a quick recap of the movie, No Hard Feelings. A woman is on the brink of losing her home. Desperate for a way to solve her problems, she accepted a married couple's job offer to bring their introverted son out of his shell before he went to college. She has one summer to turn the 19-year-old boy into a man. In Montauk, New York, Maddie steps out of her house when she sees a tow truck driver named Gary, fastening her car to his truck. Maddie works as a bartender and an Uber driver. She owes property taxes on the home she inherited from her mother, and because of that, her car was getting repossessed. It wouldn't be long before Maddie lost her house too. Maddie tried to persuade Gary, whom she apparently had a history with before she ghosted him for 3 months, not to take her car because she wouldn't have a car to use anymore for her Uber driving job. But the man refused to listen to her excuses and left with Maddie's car. Not having a car to use anymore, Maddie decided to rollerblade her way to work. When she passed by Gary's tow truck, she unfastened her car from the tow truck while Gary was buying his food. But Maddie didn't unfasten the hook in front of her car and failed to steal her car when Gary lifted the front of her car using the tow truck's hook. Maddie was brought to the police station but luckily managed to not get into trouble thanks to her friend, Gabe. She ranted to her friend about how she was on the brink of losing her home before leaving for her bartending work. At work, she had a dispute with a customer and ended up getting scolded by her manager, Fern. To cool herself down, Fern told her to fold napkins instead, with her friends Sarah and her husband, Jim, accompanying her. Sarah, who was scrolling through her phone, showed Maddie an unusual Craigslist posting on her phone. Maddie read it and learned it was about helicopter parents looking for a grown woman to date their introverted 19-year-old son for the whole summer, and the payment would be a Buick Regal car. Maddie thought about accepting it but was indecisive about it as the Craigslist posting was really weird, especially for a 32-year-old woman like her. When she was hanging out with her friends, she opened up about how hard it was to make a living and how she knew her late mother wouldn't want her to lose her home. When she went back home and saw the photo of her and her mother, that's when Maddie finally decided to take the job. She went to the helicopter parents' house and was in awe when she saw the Buick Regal. The helicopter parents, Allison and Laird, called her from above a staircase, and they invited Maddie in after introducing themselves. Inside, Allison and Laird asked Maddie basic questions at first, and when they learned that Maddie is 32 years old, they hesitated as they were only looking for a girl who's in her early to mid-20s. Seeing their reluctance, Maddie quickly made up an excuse and told them she took the job because she wanted to help their son gain experience in dating and become more of a man. Allison and Laird liked what she said and started explaining why they were looking for a woman to date their son. Percy is a 19-year-old introvert. He is socially shy and didn't talk to anyone. He doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, and doesn't go to sleepovers or parties, and the parents are worried that he is missing out on a lot. They wanted their son to have fun, learn how to date, and build his confidence before he went off to college. Laird told Maddie that she couldn't let Percy or anyone else know about this deal. Allison then stated that Percy is volunteering at a shelter and suggested Maddie pretend she wanted to adopt a dog and get close to Percy that way. Before Maddie leaves, Laird reminds her that if Percy were to date someone else for real before the summer even ends, the deal would end then. Maddie then went to the animal shelter Percy was volunteering at, dressed in a short pink dress. She entered the shelter and demanded Percy's assistance. She seductively stood in front of Percy, asking him to allow her to touch his wiener, surprising the poor boy. But then Maddie clarified that she was talking about the dog, and Percy heaved a sigh. Maddie then seductively sat down in front of Percy to pet the dog and asked for Percy's help in picking a dog to adopt. Percy showed her a black dog named Milo, who was apparently a police dog before he was forced to retire because he grew obsessed with cocaine. After introducing Milo to Maddie, the latter asked if there was an office in the animal shelter or just somewhere they could be in private. Percy led Maddie to the office and was typing in Maddie's personal information while Maddie was seated on a small couch quite far from Percy's desk. Maddie pulled the small couch closer to Percy's desk, and Percy seemed weirded out by her actions. Maddie answered the questions as she continued to try to seduce the boy. Percy tried to end the short meeting, but Maddie pretended that she really wanted to adopt a dog already, so Percy would keep on talking to her. She even offered to drive Percy home, and the latter was confused as to why she knew his address. Maddie smoothly lied that she saw his address written at the back of his bag, and Percy's workmate, Crispin, entered the room. Maddie used that as a chance to pull Percy out and drive him home. When Percy saw the type of car Maddie was driving, he seemed to have gotten suspicious of her and tried to excuse himself before going to his bike. Maddie took his bike and put it inside her cargo van, compelling Percy to come with her. Inside the car, the two of them were having a conversation, and when Maddie joked about Percy being her hostage, Percy got a little scared. When he saw the machete at the back of the van, Percy got even more scared and tried to text someone for help. Moments later, they have arrived at Maddie's home, and Percy has maced her eyes, assuming that Maddie is going to kidnap him. When he realized that she wasn't actually going to kidnap him, he got so guilty for macing her eyes, and Maddie was frustrated at him. To help her ease the pain in her eyes, Percy sprayed her with water, but it was so strong that Maddie fell on her rear. She took the hose from Percy and helped herself with it. Percy apologized and explained that he thought she was a kidnapper, and Maddie told him that she just found him hot. Shocked but flustered at the same time, Percy awkwardly asked Maddie out on a date, and Maddie agreed with her eyes closed. The next day, Maddie was taking a break from her bartending work. She was telling Sarah and Jim about her date with Percy, and Jim told her not to use the cargo van again if she didn't want Percy to think she was going to kidnap him. Later that night, Percy arrived at the bar where they were going to have their first date, wearing a suit with short pants. He was so awkward throughout their whole date, he flinched at the sound of the pool, spitting out his drink, and Maddie seemed like she was just shocked at how clueless and scared the boy was. As the two of them were talking, one of Maddie's ex-boyfriends called Travis appeared. Travis bragged about being married and tried to embarrass Maddie in front of Percy, but Maddie just taunted him back and got him to leave. After their date at the bar, Maddie and Percy went to a closed beach. Maddie asked Percy to skinny dip with him, but awkward Percy tried to refuse. Maddie managed to get him to agree, and Percy followed her into the water buck naked. Maddie wrapped her arms around Percy's neck once he reached her when they noticed a group of drunk teenagers. The teenagers made fun of them and stole their clothes. As they were walking away, a naked Maddie advanced towards them, grabbing a handful of sand and throwing it at one of the teens' faces. The drunk teens left, and Maddie went back to Percy. Percy didn't like Maddie beating up those teens and showed Maddie that, but Maddie just got annoyed at him, especially since he didn't even do anything to help. Maddie then asked Percy to make whoopee with her, but Percy refused, frustrating Maddie even more. Percy explained that besides getting scared at how wild Maddie is, he also didn't want to have sex with someone he didn't know that well. But Maddie didn't care about his explanation and left him alone, taking both their clothes to the car. A naked Percy followed the already clothed Maddie to her car, covering his PP, and asked for his clothes and phone. Maddie gave him his clothes but not his phone. Percy asked for it again, but Maddie was too annoyed to look for his phone in her car. She backed up, and Percy jumped on the hood of her car so she could give him his phone. Maddie ignored that he was basically lying on top of her car naked and drove away, catching the cops' attention. Afraid to lose her license, Maddie decided to do something crazy again and drove past the incoming train. Both Maddie and Percy were shocked and they finally got past the train, which was so close to hitting their car. They went to Maddie's house, where Maddie sexily danced for Percy. Maddie told Percy to hit her rear. But the awkward boy didn't know what to do and so decided to just kick her in the rear. Maddie crawled and sat on him, still dancing. Percy complained about it, so Maddie switched them up. She sat down on the couch and got Percy to sit on top of her, moving him like he was a baby. Maddie asked him again if he wanted to be intimate with her, telling him that they could go slow, and Percy explained that he wanted to, but he was just so awkward and inexperienced. He also started scratching his skin, and when Maddie raised his shirt to check what was making him so itchy, she saw that he was getting rashes because of anxiety. Maddie nursed him, and Percy opened up about how he disliked being socially awkward, as it was hindering him from making friends. Maddie also shared about her life and how she'd stayed in the town and her mother's house her whole life. The two of them started communicating and sharing things about themselves. Percy turned to face Maddie, and the two of them agreed to continue dating first. They did continue to date. But this time, both of them actually did things and had fun together. They walked the dogs in animal shelters, played laser tag, and teased a kid that got them kicked out of the arcade. Percy started becoming more comfortable around Maddie, and they started to talk a lot more. They both revealed that they hadn't been to prom, so they planned to have their own prom and go to a fancy dinner. That time, Percy gathered enough courage to initiate a kiss with Maddie. Then they met up with a guy named Jody, whom Percy introduced as his friend. Jody noticed a frisbee in the bag Percy was carrying and decided to throw it for Percy to catch. Once Percy was quite far from them, he asked Maddie what she wanted with Percy, not trusting her one bit with his friend. And Maddie told him that she wanted to date Percy before calling Jody out for wanting to do the same. Percy came back, and the two of them pretended like they didn't just have a talk. At Maddie's house, Sarah and Jim were there visiting her when a guy knocked on her door. She didn't seem to recognize him, so the man introduced himself as Doug, whom she went to high school with. Doug told her that he was there for the house, and Maddie refused to give up her house and let them tear it down. That night, Percy fetched Maddie in a limousine so they could go to the fancy dinner they had planned together. Inside the fancy restaurant, the two of them talked and shared laughs. Percy shared that he didn't want anyone at school to notice him because if they don't notice him, then they can't make fun of him. Maddie comforted him by saying that they should see how great he really is. Maddie noticed a piano and encouraged Percy to play it. Percy was nervous, but he played the piano anyway. As he was playing the piano beautifully, he also started singing, which gathered everyone's attention. Maddie was just staring at him, moved by how amazingly Percy sang. When Percy finished, everyone clapped, and Maddie commented on how amazing he is and how surprised she is by his talent. While they were talking, a girl named Natalie, Percy's school acquaintance, approached them, and Percy was so happy to see her. Maddie and Natalie introduced themselves to each other, with Natalie thinking that Maddie was Percy's babysitter, which offended Maddie. Natalie invited Percy to a party, and even though Maddie insinuated that they couldn't attend because they had plans together, Natalie still insisted, and Percy accepted. This upset Maddie, and when Natalie left, Maddie and Percy had a disagreement about their long-term plans. Percy walked away, and Maddie followed him back to the limousine. Percy sat away from Maddie when she realized that they were going somewhere else. She asked Percy where they were going. And Percy answered that they were going to the party Natalie invited them to. Percy told Maddie that she was the one who told him to hang out with school friends more, and if she didn't want to attend, she shouldn't come. After telling Maddie that, Percy went into the party. Maddie followed right after, but she couldn't see him anywhere. As she was looking for Percy, she had quite an altercation with a few partygoers. She asked some girls if they'd seen Percy and found out she was in one of the rooms with Natalie. Worried that Percy might be having sex with Natalie, Maddie went searching the rooms and was utterly disappointed that she didn't see any high school students going at it. When she found a locked door, she broke the door and saw Natalie and Percy in one bed, half naked. Natalie reassured her that nothing happened, but Percy was already drunk, and Maddie asked if he took some kind of pill, which Percy nodded yes to. Maddie took Percy to the bathroom and forced him to throw up the pill. While she was nursing Percy, the host of the party, whom she had an altercation with, came into the room with his parents. His father told Maddie to leave as she didn't belong to a high school party, which is ironic coming from the father who was attending the same high school party his kid was hosting. Maddie told him that she was just taking Percy before they left. Percy advanced towards them, aiming to punch the father, but ended up punching Maddie on the neck instead. Maddie felt like the wind got knocked out of her and immediately asked Percy to leave with her. Inside the limo, Percy was lying with his head on Maddie's lap. He apologized for accidentally punching Maddie before telling her that he was ready for her. Percy sat up and prepared for their protection. Maddie helped him when she realized he didn't know what to do, and that's when Percy confessed that he was in love with Maddie. Maddie stated that they shouldn't do anything that night, especially not for Percy's first time, and that Percy shouldn't be confessing to her while he's drunk. Percy agreed and laid his head back on Maddie's lap. The next day, Percy woke up in a good mood, and his parents commented on it. Percy told his parents that he wanted to get his own license so he could drive his girlfriend, Maddie. His parents were happy that he was getting out of his shell now, but that happiness turned into shock when Percy told them he wasn't going to Princeton because he wanted to stay in Montauk with Maddie. Allison told Percy to go get the car while she talked with her father. Once Percy left, Allison called Maddie, and the latter told them that she couldn't continue the deal anymore because Percy was getting too attached. Laird agreed and told her that she could get the Buick Regal car since she still managed to get Percy out of his shell and help him boost his confidence. Allison and Laird were confused when the call got cut short and they couldn't hear what Maddie was telling them anymore. It turns out that Percy, who was checking the Buick Regal car, accidentally connected the phone call to the car, and he inadvertently heard Maddie asking her parents if they would really give her the car once she convinced Percy to go to Princeton. He realized that his parents might have made Maddie date him in exchange for the car. Percy felt betrayed and broken-hearted because of this. He invited Maddie to dinner without his parents' knowledge, so Laird and Maddie were surprised to see each other. During dinner, Percy admitted that he intentionally invited Maddie to dinner while his parents were there because he wanted to introduce her to his parents. Throughout the whole dinner, Percy was low-key insulting Maddie in front of his parents, and when he noticed that Maddie was getting angry, he excused himself, saying that he got a call from a friend. He went out of the house to meet with Crispin, who helped him destroy the Buick Regal car while his parents and Maddie were still having dinner. After destroying the car, he went back to the house and went straight to his room. Maddie and his parents saw how he ignored them, so Maddie followed him into his room. When she got into the room, Percy tried to kiss her, which she rejected, causing him to flop down on his bed as a reaction. Percy tried to get the truth out of her, and Maddie lied, agreeing to be intimate with Percy if that was what he wanted. Percy didn't even last for more than 10 seconds before the two of them finished and laid down beside each other. Percy admitted he knew about Maddie's deal with his parents and ended the relationship. After their breakup, Percy confronted his helicopter parents about the truth. He told them to stop doing everything for him and to let him fail or succeed on his own. He went back to being a homebody who did nothing but play and stay inside his room. Meanwhile, Maddie still received the damaged car, which she still used for her Uber driving job, despite the state it was in. She celebrated with Sarah and Jim when she finally reached her savings goals and paid her debts. Sarah and Jim told her that they were moving to Florida because they couldn't afford to buy their own place in Montauk. Maddie was shocked that they were leaving, but Sarah told her that she was even more shocked that Maddie was going to stay in Montauk, despite how unhappy she seemed in the town. Realizing that she needed to go and find her own happiness, Maddie decided to sell her house and apologize to Percy. She tried to talk to Percy, but the latter just ignored her, even when she hopped on top of his car's hood. He drove to the beach with Maddie on the hood, getting into accidents and accidentally setting Maddie's jacket on fire. Percy drove the car to the sea to put out the fire in Maddie's jacket and went out of his car to help her. Maddie used that as a chance to apologize to Percy, who cried, finally accepting the apology. They stayed on that beach, talking about their plans in life. Percy was going to Princeton for college, and Maddie was leaving Montauk to move to California. That time, the two of them made a promise to stay friends. Afterward, Maddie sold her house to Sarah and Jim so they wouldn't have to move to Florida anymore. Then Maddie and Percy prepared to leave Montauk. Maddie offered to give Percy a ride to Princeton on her way to California. She also revealed to Percy that she ended up adopting Milo. The three of them got into the car, and the movie ended with them going on a journey.